Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz, guys. Welcome to episode 173 of the Untapped Podcast. If this is your first time joining us, first of all, thank you. We are thrilled to have you here with us. We actually have 5 main formats of our show. So first, we have Forging Fortitude episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the mental side of our brand. In these ones, we go over our anecdotal experiences with things like mindset and mentality. We then pass on tips and advice to you guys to then apply to your own lives. Next, we have Physical Vitality episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the physical side of our brand. So in these ones, we really get to showcase our expertise because you have 2 certified personal trainers here. Now, first and foremost, in these episodes, we cover everything that we offer through our fully custom Untapped training app. So if you guys have any questions about what we can offer, please reach out because we are more than willing and able to help you get the results that you want. Now, in addition to that, we also cover everything to do with the gym, nutrition, workouts, supplements, mental toughness programs like 75 Hard, for example. And then at times, we will take training articles or topics within the fitness industry and give our thoughts and opinions on those. Now, guys, these Physical Vitality episodes are full of free game, so make sure you pay attention.
Nice job, dude. Good to be back.
Mm-hmm.
Good to be back.
It is.
All right, guys, third format now. That is our breaking news format. That is our current event-based format. So we sit down and touch on current events, current articles going on in today's world, but also mainly the U.S. in our case, because it's where we are located, obviously. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the content you see around current events is very doom and gloom and the negative side of things. We're here to also provide the solution aspect of those episodes. Now, on to our fourth format. That is our Knights Table format. It is a masculinity-based format. We touch on things like toxic masculinity, if it's real, what it is, fatherhood, the impact it's had on all 3 of our lives in here, and male-based topics in general, and how important men are to not only the United States, but also the world. Now, keep in mind, I'm 27. Wurtz is also 27.
Mm-hmm.
Our producer, Mitch, is 25. Because of that reason, we are not coming to you from the top of the mountain or some kind of perfect place as a man. We will never reach that place. The only perfect man to ever walk this earth is Jesus Christ. On to our 5th format. That is our guest format. We sit down and sit down with entrepreneurs, fitness professionals, athletes, doctors, anybody with a great story or somebody who brings you value. We love those episodes because we learn a lot from those episodes. In turn, you also learn a lot from those episodes as well. Our final thing to introduce before the episode is our producer and my brother, Mitchell Gabel.
What's crack-a-lackin'?
What's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on?
Boys, we're back.
Jumping the gun. We're so back.
Yeah.
We are so back.
Couple weeks off. Nothing really major happened while we were gone.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing current event-wise.
Nothing current event-wise. Yeah. Nothing, life-wise. Nothing really
nothing
much.
changed for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
In case people don't know what, obviously we're being sarcastic there. In case people don't know, what did change for you, Gabel?
Well, of all the bad news of the last couple weeks,
Yeah.
the really good news and how I've stayed really positive is my daughter made her arrival into this world. So I am now a father.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible feeling. As of the time we're recording right now, she's not even 2 weeks old yet.
Right.
Which is crazy. Wurtz got to hold her for the first time today.
Pretty
before
incredible.
We recorded. Yeah, she's a beast. She 8 pounds 11 ounces unit.
Yeah.
So
And what's her name?
yeah, Haven Elaine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a good name right there.
Safe Haven. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strong name.
She came out and the nurses. It was so funny. They looked at Holly and I hadn't decided until she came out, and they were like, "What's her name?" And I looked at her and I could see in her eyes. I go, Haven, right away. So then we decided on that one. So it's pretty incredible, to say the least. It's everything people say and other dads I've spoken to say, and even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't encapsulate what fatherhood is in just words from other dads. Like that's what I realized real quickly. It's incredible. So
before you get too far here, because that's a great start there. Those of you guys listening, watching, Gabel does not actually know what we are talking about
I'm
today.
completely in the dark.
He is,
Yep.
and that's the truth. Mitch and I, however, do know. And basically what we're going to do for this episode is Mitch and I are going to kind of interview Gabel. We have a few different questions for
nice.
you. And surrounding everything you just described. Because again, in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of dark, a lot of bad news, a lot of horrific things happen.
A lot of realization about viewpoints
For
the
sure.
certain side.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
And maybe some good could come out of that, you
Sure.
know? And eventually we are going to get to all that because it does need to be talked about. It does need to be covered. That's certainly a part of this podcast, you know, those types of events and whatnot. But something magical also happened in the last 2 weeks, and that's what deserves first go from us. And so, again, we have a few questions that we're going to go over with you, and it's going to be cool.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Right? Me too, because we've never done something like this, you know? And so you almost started to answer the first question by starting off there, and you certainly don't have to get too graphic with this first question.
Fair enough.
To respect yours and your wife's privacy to a point here. But first question is just describe that whole process when this all came about with Haven being born and the feelings that you experienced and maybe even the feelings that you and Holly experienced as well through that first day. You know, just kind of continue on the path that you were going down there.
Yeah. Feelings of when, well, it didn't really hit until she was actually here. Like Holly was technically by the hospitals, by St. Luke's assessment, she was in labor for 36 hours.
Dang. So I lost my bet.
Well, so she was in labor. She pushed for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I still lost my bet.
So yeah,
so
the pushing's a little bit different, obviously, for those of you dads and moms that know that already.
Yeah.
But
I actually flew out to Vegas, guys, and went to Caesars and put down $100,000.
Yep.
That Holly was going to set a world record for the shortest birth at 37 seconds.
supposedly the kids after Haven are supposed to be much quicker.
Yeah, well, I already lost $100,000, dude. So Holly and I are going to have a conversation later.
And of course, like I have, there's all the thoughts about it and stuff like that about like, like how could you make the delivery go smoother and all that stuff. And now I'm really diving into that after this one. Cause I don't know what I expected truthfully going into it, but it was hard. Just because the last 15 minutes of pushing before Haven made her entrance into the world were very hard because Holly felt essentially everything. Those of you that have gotten epidurals and are moms, that's not supposed to happen. They're not really supposed to feel anything. And so that was really hard, obviously on her, but also for me, I couldn't do anything to help her.
Sure.
I could just be there and tell her I was there and whatnot and just tell her like, hey, if you get it over with quicker, then it won't hurt as much, I guess.
If you just push harder.
Yeah. And that's funny enough what our OB said. So the doctor was like, if you wait longer, this is going to be worse, basically, is the idea. And that's what she told Holly.
Wait longer for what?
Like if she doesn't push as hard as she can
Gotcha.
and it elongates the process, it's going to be even worse than it already is. So that was wild. As she made her entrance, like Haven, that is, it's like, it was one of those things to where I thought something was wrong because they were worried about her clavicle and her shoulder getting caught and whatnot. And they were worried about there possibly being an issue there and stuff like that. So that was terrifying because the nurses grabbed her right away and thought, I thought someone was completely wrong. Oh. They put her on the table. They were like, oh, she's breathing. And I was like, what? I didn't even know that was a concern. So nobody of the 10 to 15 people that are in the room said anything to me, which was a whole nother thing, truthfully. Because of the fact that I would have liked to have been communicated in some way, and I know they had a body to do that, but nobody did. So I was under the impression Holly was obviously like, oh my gosh, like it's over. So she didn't have time to think about Haven. So I'm going with Haven, and I'm like thinking someone's really wrong with her. They check her, she's crying and she's breathing right away. She's fine, and all this stuff. Yeah. But after that, she went skin to skin with Holly, and then skin to skin with me after that. And we both did like 45 minutes each, essentially, of that.
Probably more of like skin to hair with you.
Skin to hair with me, big time, big time. Yeah, she still doesn't seem to mind that, I guess. But I do feel bad for her because she puts her head in there, and I'm like, that can't be enjoyable, but whatever. A lot of chest hair. But yeah, it was incredible because probably, I don't know, 2-3 hours after she made her arrival. Well, maybe was it that? When did you come, Mitchell? When did you come to the hospital? Like 4 o'clock that day, so maybe 7 hours after. Am I wrong about that? Or did you guys come at lunch?
No, the night we came the night we came the night of the day she was born.
Yeah. Yeah, so you were there at like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and then
like that.
we brought you guys dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. That was, I mean, granted, it had already, like Holly and I were kind of sitting there before anybody got there, including her parents or our side of the family or anything, or my side of the family, and it was insane because it was one of those where you were just sitting there like, wow, we just created this being.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like, and again, as I was saying, you can't really encapsulate fatherhood into things you hear from people ever, which is why I'm also probably along these questions going to advocate for literally people having kids as much as they possibly can because of how incredible this is. Yes, was it hard? But also Holly and I are already at the point where we're like, this was so worth it. Like well worth it at this point in time for all this. It's like, I wish I would have met Holly at 19 and we would have had kids at 20. Genuinely. That's what I really would think. Even if I was in college, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered at that point in time. I would still rather have started early with this 100%. So that was all going through our minds at that point in time. Where it really hit too, her parents came in, Holly's parents came in. That was incredible because I could see the interaction between them three, and that was awesome. And then my side, Mitch and his fiance Bree were there with my mom and dad, and that was.
Did your parents get up there Monday night then, or? Yeah,
they came. Well, excuse me, my mom actually had gotten there at like lunchtime. So a little bit after Holly had delivered Haven at that point in time. And she was there with Holly's parents actually at the same time too, now that I think about it. And then Mitch and Bree came with my parents. So my dad then got to meet her and Mitchell got to meet her at that point in time too. That was incredible. It was one of those things to where like, so this is my parents' first grandchild. Sure. So for them, it was like, had me tearing up and crying in front of them and stuff like that while I was still holding her and all this. My mom obviously got to meet her first, and that was incredible, seeing her reaction to that and all that. So, it was like essentially a total of probably 15 to 30 minutes if you count the epidural thing I told you about and whatnot and how it didn't really take at first. 15 to 30 minutes of like, holy shit, like what's happening? Like, this is scary.
This is real now.
But then like after that 15 to 30 minutes of like, oh, this is like, I feel horrible for Holly right now. After that 15 to 30 minutes, it's like all good things. Yeah. You start realizing, oh my gosh, like we created this being, and now I have to be the protector and provider and everything else along. I have to lead her to heaven. I have to make sure Holly and the rest of the family goes to heaven and all that stuff too, as a Christian father. And, so whole thing of flood of emotions come in at that point in time. It was probably the most emotional. It might've been the most emotional for me seeing Mitchell see her for the first time. Because Mitchell is not really, as Mitchell can tell you, he's pretty much a stone wall most of the time. Sure. Because that cybersecurity in him, he tries to hide his emotions a lot of times. But seeing Mitchell, like even see her, because he didn't want to hold her in the hospital, and understandably so, she was tiny at that point in time. Sure. 8 pounds, 11 ounces is a big baby, but it still looks like a tiny little human.
Sure.
And so that seeing him react to it and whatnot, and like him like laugh, cry, and like all this stuff. That was probably the most emotional part for me, just because I know Mitchell's going to be around. Him and I are going to be best friends for a whole life and whatnot. And that was pretty crazy seeing, him get to meet his niece. Yeah, his niece. Yeah. So that was probably the most emotional part for me. And then Holly was just obviously at that point in time recovering. Like, holy crap, I did that too. And I'm like, I kept telling her, I'm like, you're a badass. Oh, yeah. Like, that was awesome. Yeah. So it also, for me as the dad, it also helps me gain even more respect for Holly than I already had. Mm-hmm. I knew she was an incredible wife and she was going to be an incredible mother as it is. Seeing her do that and push through that, I was like, I would nuke an entire city for this woman. Genuinely. Like, that's where my head process was at after that. And, again, if you're with a woman that you don't think you could feel that for, then you shouldn't be with that woman anyways. And it's like, it's one of those to where like, it's a wake up call. Like, okay, I really made the right decision. Again, I already knew that when I married Holly, but now it's even more cemented than what it is already. And so, yeah, it's an incredible thing, to say the least. Yeah.
It is. Cause as I was walking in today, I told you, but like I was walking up to the door and my heart started just like beating out of my chest. My palms were sweaty and it's like, I'm like nervous, like excited, and it's, because it is incredible. Like, you guys created her. She's amazing. First of all, like long baby, she's gonna be tall.
22 inches for those of you that understand the height things of babies. Like, the nurses were like, wow, she's huge. That was basically their reaction. Yeah.
She got your side of the height.
Yeah, 100% she got my size. Yeah, which I feel bad for Holly on that end of things, but it's still.
Yeah, how could you do that to her, dude?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, seriously, man.
At 36 weeks, she was apparently measuring like 7 pounds, 7 ounces. Anytime I'd tell people that at health source or at training, they'd be like, oh, oh my.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she was already measuring larger than me when I was born. I was born 7 pounds, 5 ounces, or 6 ounces, or something like that. So she was at 36 weeks measuring bigger than that already.
Yeah.
So she's a beast.
Yeah.
100%. Which you could go into a whole host of things about, like, that's why you take care of your health as a dad. All, all this stuff that I'm probably sure we'll get into later. But yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well,
what are you most nervous for about being a dad?
His transitions are so funny. Most nervous for about being a dad? That's a tough one.
Now that she's here too, not leading up to it, but now that she's here.
Now that she's here, I guess the nervous thing that is also directing me toward being my best self is like not being the role model she deserves as a father. Because, again, like, whether you want to put it or not, the father, he will determine, in my case, I will determine the type of man she eventually marries. Because if I'm a piece of shit loser, essentially, she's probably going to chase that type of man too. More than likely. Like, I'm going to probably influence her in that direction unless she has some other big turn down the road. But again, like, that's who I won't be. So is it nervousness? Yes, because now I know I have to live up to that. I have to live up to like this heightened tall figure, essentially. You know what I mean? It's like, it's essentially Jesus, then me that she looks up to, which is an insane thing to think about. So that's terrifying because, then I have to fill all these expectations and make sure I'm working hard, make sure I'm on top of my fitness, make sure I'm also being the faith leader the family needs to be. So it's a lot of realization that, and this is why the whole thing that came out of feminism always pissed me off, the whole idea of like, we don't need a man, that type of thing. That's a complete load of shit. Like it just is. Like, and Holly could sit here and tell you that same thing right now. Like me being involved as a father makes a massive difference on Haven's life. Is Holly a phenomenal mother and will continue to be? Yeah, 100%. Like, I have no concerns about that at all. But again, like, as anybody knows, who you marry will also dictate the rest of your life, essentially, like in a good or bad way, and in my case, I know I made the right decision with Holly. So that makes it easier because it makes me less concerned about that aspect of things. It's like, as long as I hold my end of the bargain, I know she's going to hold her end of the bargain. I have no concerns about that at all. I then have to do that for Haven, though, too. I have to show her, this is how much I love your mother. I would die and protect your mother. Your mother also comes first over you as well, which is a whole nother controversial thing a lot of people forget, but that's the order of the household. You and your wife are formed into one. You're one flesh. That's what the Bible always talks about. So you're formed into one flesh. That means Holly comes before Haven. That doesn't mean we know.
It doesn't mean you neglect.
Gosh, yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right.
Like, I think a lot of people take it that way.
Sure.
That does not mean you neglect, but actually me taking care of Holly first is actually setting a better example for Haven down the road, is the idea of it. And so if Haven sees that, why would she mess around with some dumbass dude down the road?
Right.
Like I think a lot of dads I talk to, they're the ones that their daughters aren't teenagers yet. They're all worried about them getting to that stage. And then the ones who do have teenage daughters, they're like, oh, they're a lot. Like, they're already having boyfriends or something like that. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense looking at you. Makes a lot of sense that you're like really concerned about that right now, because that means you didn't hold up your end of the bargain as the dad. That means she's looking for the wrong man because she was raised by the wrong man. Yeah. And you allowed that to happen, And
I think, yes, there's certainly situations like that. I also think there's a part, because I've seen it with my dad and my younger sister, where I'm sure it's hard to accept that they're growing up, and that's a good thing. In a good way, it's also kind of funny in a way when you're observing it. Again, I'm not the one in that position, but like my sister has a boyfriend. She's 21 now. Like, she just turned 21 just a few weeks ago. And that was like a shock for me. It's like, she's 21 years old now? Like, that's crazy,
Ancient.
Yeah, right. But, and so part of those types of comments are also rooted in that, on the like having to accept that your kids are growing up, which is again, it's a good thing. And if you have done your job as parents, as a father, as a mother, then the actual nervousness that comes with your kids growing up should go by the wayside some. You're never not going to have that, of
you're
course.
never not going to be, of course.
And that has to remain true, because you're always looking out for your kids, and you and I both grew up with great sets of parents and continue to have that. But I think that's also part of it too. It's like, I'm sure it's hard to accept that your little girl is becoming a teenager and then becoming a college student and then, becoming a real adult, and so I'm sure that's also where that comes from.
Yeah. I think with your dad too, it's interesting to watch because I feel like he's a good example of a confident dad who knows he's done a good job with his daughter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he has.
Yeah.
Objectively done a really
100%.
good job with Sarah. Your dad's in general a great father, as we both know.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things to where I think your dad's a great example of what the father should look like in that scenario of a daughter. You know what I mean? And he is a great example for Sarah. Because of that, he, in my opinion, he's never given off any like sense of nervousness about her path. He's always been just talked about how proud he is of her. Yeah. That's at least whenever I've had conversations with him about it, that's all he talks about. Yeah. To me, I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, yeah, Dave, it's because you've killed it. That's why you've done a great job. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's obvious to watch.
And that's why she's never been around idiots either.
Yep.
Never. At least not to my knowledge.
Yeah. And again, because her older brother would beat some ass anyways.
You're very, very correct on that.
That helps too. That helps.
Yes. Yes. But who did I learn from? It all comes back to the same thing.
Exactly.
Okay. Next one here. Similar question, but what are you most excited about with becoming a father? Again, this is now that she is here.
Now that she's here. Most excited for, and I don't want like to speed up the years at all, if that makes sense. But especially when the time comes that I can like play with her, you know what I mean? Like right now, of course, like it's awesome to be able to hold her and, just like kind of hang out with her and whatnot. She just kind of sits there. That's about all she does. That's awesome. But I definitely, and again, I don't want those years to go by any faster than they already are, but I'm definitely excited about the fact that, I'll be able to do stuff with her, take her and go golf or something like that, like little things like that where she can sit in a seat and just ride along while I'm in the cart. And then eventually she starts playing. Eventually, maybe she starts playing some hockey. Who knows? That'd be awesome too. That point is what I'm really excited for. And just in general, also, I'm also really excited for having a daughter first because it's basically another version of Holly. Like that. That's awesome. Like to have two Hollies in the same house, essentially. That's incredible. And I already love her mother enough as it is, and like in just an unbelievable amount to where that excites me a lot because I know she will turn out as just of incredible of a woman as Holly is. You know what I mean? So that's extremely exciting. Just seeing her grow up and seeing her really like start to chase things that like are great for her life and whatnot, and become a phenomenal mother eventually, become a phenomenal wife eventually, all that stuff. That's her personality developing is what I'm really excited about for sure. And like just as it goes along, her actually, wanting to hang out with her dad and whatnot. Because again, right now, like Holly's also breastfeeding, so that's another factor where like Holly gets to hang out with her a little bit more too. I'm like, man, like I can't really calm her down right now.
What am I here for?
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't breastfeed. Like can't do it as
You're
much.
right. Men cannot breastfeed.
As much as they will tell you men can breastfeed, that's not true. Because I've seen it firsthand. But it's funny because I definitely cannot wait to just like each year like see her just grow into more of this like cool personality, just well-behaved kid. I like all the different things. Like it's very exciting to think about the future that it holds.
Sure.
And not to mention her interacting with her siblings. Because a lot of other fathers, and just this could be, again, I don't have a second child yet. A lot of fathers I talked to that had a daughter first, they said it was awesome because they saw her like become almost a motherly figure to a certain degree to her younger siblings. Sometimes they try to take it too much because they would, their instincts would take over a lot. And I thought that was a really interesting point. So I'm actually really excited to see how she interacts with her siblings too, along with that.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of continue on those points some, it will be very interesting, the personality development, because it's like, what will her interests be? Will she like sports? That's probably a likelihood because you were an athlete growing up and things like that, and
or she'll be, a band aficionado like her mom.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
right, and you.
Well, not me as much. her mom is much more dialed with that than I am. Let's just say that.
Will she take after her good looking uncle over there? And have stupendous height or great hair? Or a very flatlined personality.
Hopefully she keeps Mitchell's hair at least. I hope to God she's gonna get my hair. That would be the first woman balding ever.
The first thing I said is that she was gonna have a cul-de-sac growing up as a baby, and she was just gonna have the toilet bowl going on. That's
He's
what
got
I
nothing
said.
better to do, Wurtz. Nothing better.
That's
to
what
do.
I said. It's all right. I was the more mature child out of the womb. I was actually bigger than him, and still am, obviously.
Oh.
So,
oh wow.
So
again, I'll take it because Lisa says you were the ugly baby. So I'll take it.
Man.
Hey, it's called beauty matures over time.
Exactly.
That's
After
all I
3 or
gotta
4
say.
months, apparently
Yeah.
he wasn't ugly anymore.
Yes.
But so thank God for
I
that.
had this exact same face at 4 months old.
if I had an ugly brother, we'd be in trouble. That'd be bad.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
It'd just be another roast we could add to it, though.
Exactly.
He's already short, and thank goodness he's not ugly.
I'm not short. I'm average.
You keep telling yourself that, buddy.
Technically, you are right at the average level. Like 5'9" is technically like the average German male.
That's right.
I believe. Yeah.
That's not good. We got to raise that.
We do.
Although
Agreed.
it is nice being above average.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of like it. because
Something
I'm
that
like,
he
oh,
would know about.
Yeah.
I know plenty about that.
Huh. What direction are we thinking there?
I didn't. I just said I know
I
plenty.
wonder.
IQ. That's what he's talking about. IQ.
Well, that is true. Mitchell's
Right.
well above IQ averages. That's for sure.
Crazy. What was the actual first thing you said to her, Mitch? Do you remember?
Haven?
Yeah.
Well, I was too scared to hold her in the hospital. I mean, she was also like a couple hours old at that time, so I was tweaking a little bit. We came over a couple days later.
This came over Wednesday, I think, so a couple days after she was born.
Yeah, a couple days later, and it was normal baby talk, hello, that kind of a thing. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy, I don't think. I told her that she, when she sleeps, she does the same thing as my fiance. She smacks her lips. That's what I told her because she was tired, so she was... she was like falling asleep, so that's what I said.
The arm stretch over the head and all that stuff.
Dude, that was killing me when I was holding her. It's like, whoa, hey, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Oh yeah, she just loves her stretches. It's hilarious.
Hey, it feels good.
Especially when you're that long too.
Yeah, right. I was told that she had actually been saying my name already, Mitch. She had been saying Wurtzy already. Yeah,
extremely good pronunciation. Right.
Yeah, and that's all she's been saying. So I mean, it
must be the enclomiphene John gave me.
Yeah.
She actually shook my hand and started discussing business immediately. Yeah, it's kind of like the Boss Baby movie. Yeah. It was kind of
interesting.
One of those,
She started talking numbers with you on the
Yep.
stock market.
Did you guys come up with anything good?
She took a position in Apple a while back, and she's up quite a bit on it. So
Okay.
she's doing well there.
Well, I'm glad to hear
I
that.
wish I would have invested in real estate when I was 1 year old.
Yeah, she told me she didn't want to get in the numbers, but they were substantial, is what I was told. Yes,
Interesting. Well, maybe I should have consulted with her when I placed my bet on the pushing time.
of course.
Yeah. She would have told me that 37 seconds. She was like, no, I'm not coming out in 37 seconds, bro.
She
It's
actually
warm in
betted
here.
on. She actually did a prediction market on Kalshi and said over under, and she made a little bit of money.
Interesting.
She didn't want to say it was substantial though.
Yeah,
is what
well,
she
good
told
for
me.
her. I mean,
Yeah.
starting on top. That's good. That's good.
Starting in financial investment. Don't know if I would dedicate that as my career. I'd prefer for my daughter, but yeah.
Yeah, then it's a recipe for a boss bitch.
Well, that's a problem. Is that, but it's also the fact that it's like a very, very vapid life of like you working 70 hours a week and you're 25 years old and in your fertile years, and it's like, wow, that's depressing. But yeah.
Okay, final question here. Now that Haven is here, she's been born, how has your perspective on the world changed? Now, I understand it's been, at the time of recording here, not even 2 weeks. Just about, but not even 2 weeks yet. By the time you guys are hearing this, it will be 2 weeks. But in these short couple weeks here, how has your perspective on the world changed, if at all?
I mean, majorly more extreme, I would say, to the positions I already held in a lot of ways. Mainly because the reason I say that is because a lot of the people that are not worried about the decline of America are the ones without children. In my personal opinion, what I've noticed is that it's a very common trait that now granted, there are the parents that are very apathetic and don't care about the world or about the United States getting worse. Objectively, since I'm 27 now, for me, like obviously every year we've essentially gone the wrong direction in the United States.
It feels that way.
At least it feels like it.
Yeah.
So for me, the awareness of that became much higher because I'm like, oh shit, if I don't put the right things in place for Haven, she's going to have to be, her generation's going to have to be who fixes this. That's not good.
Yeah.
You know,
and if we keep going down that path, what is that problem that they would have to fix? You know, at that point,
exactly.
You know, in 20 plus years.
Yep. And because it comes to the idea of one of the things you see, especially right now, is the acceptance and kumbaya and whatnot. You know, the response to Charlie Kirk compared to response to George Floyd and the differences between the two are pretty notable now in these last couple weeks. In the way of, there's a ton of people I see again that are childless, still not worried about the direction we're going, even after this.
Yeah.
They're worried about the most little things, the most unimportant things possible.
Like Jimmy Kimmel getting shut down.
Exactly. Like, who the shit cares?
Yeah.
His show was already going down as it is. Who cares?
Right.
It doesn't, like, people like Jimmy Kimmel, they could lose their job, but it doesn't affect your life at all.
No.
You genuinely think it's like a free speech thing, but it was just ABC who did that. And so it's one of those things to where you get a lot more...
and their affiliates.
And their affiliates, exactly. Like Sinclair and all that. Yeah.
But
when you see things like that, you get a lot more aware of the fact of how much of a waste of time that is to worry about that, because no, it doesn't affect free speech at all. Anything with the Kimmel stuff. What does affect free speech is shooting a man who would debate people in a public forum.
Yeah.
That affects free speech in a pretty major way. That also means that, let's say Haven wants to speak her viewpoints. Again, I would prefer her not to put herself in a position of danger as her father. I would really like to avoid that. But let's say she does to her friends or something like that, and she gets ostracized because of that, because she has more conservative viewpoints or something like that. That seems a little fucked up.
Yeah,
it really does.
Right.
And so that also was very sobering to me, to where like our priorities in this country are so on the wrong side of things. We bicker about stupid things after something like Charlie Kirk, but then there's also this section of a lot of the right-wing side of things to where they're more worried about the kumbaya and coming together type of thing. And it's like, we've tried the whole meet in the middle and kumbaya thing, and we've given an inch, and they've taken a mile for like 50 plus years now.
Yeah.
So our housing prices are in horrible condition. People over 70 are buying houses more than people that are under 35 right now. Never before has that happened in the country's history, ever. That's also concerning, because then Haven can't have her family in a home if we continue on that direction. You continue to ignore the fact that we have tens of millions of people here that shouldn't be here, whether legal or illegal for that matter, and that also puts a heavier strain on the housing crisis as well, because you have more people that get holed up by tax dollars or whatever. You also make the healthcare system worse, because there's more of a strain on it because we have more people. We don't necessarily need more people in this country. The whole idea of that is really weird, because they've told white people not to have kids for the last 30 years. Our birth rate's gone down, and now they bring in third world immigrants to replace that. That's also very concerning, because there's nobody with shared values. Nobody assimilates anymore.
No.
So nobody with shared values that Haven's going to be able to get along with. We're going to have to move her to this remote location to go to school, essentially, or something like that, to do that. That's also concerning. So these little things, and then there's a side that's worried about acceptance of all these like perverse ideals, and it's totally okay that he had a tranny roommate. You know what I mean? In this case, the shooter of Charlie Kirk, and it's totally okay he was watching furry porn, and that access to pornography is everywhere. Doesn't matter where you look, it's everywhere. It infects men, and it infects women, it infects our viewpoints, stuff like that. So instead of really worrying about true issues, we just waste our time talking about the conspiracy behind it or something like that anyways. like realistically, I understand the idea of the conspiracy behind the shooter and whatnot, for example. But my thing is like talking about the conspiracy of that doesn't address the fact that our country is in a horrible spot.
Right.
It does not.
That now political violence is on the table.
Exactly.
In public.
On the table in public. And again, this is technically worse than what happened with Trump, because obviously Charlie's dead.
Right.
Trump survived, but also presidents have assassination attempts on them throughout history, in our country's history. So it's not as unusual. But a public figure that just spoke about his viewpoints, that's a serious problem.
Right. Who also just allowed other people to speak their viewpoints and to have conversations. That was his whole idea.
Exactly.
You know, and again, the time will come where we go into more depth on that type of stuff.
Of course.
But I think your overarching point here is that with the birth of her, it heightened the awareness of the state of that we're in.
Yep.
You know, because the three of us were already very, very aware of that. We are very involved in those types of things as far as researching and reading and watching and, you know, this and that and all that. But it heightened that, you know, and so it goes back to what you said in the nervous question, where it's like, okay, I have to be this guy now. And for the record, you know, I commented on your video the other day, and I wasn't kidding, but in the 2 weeks here, you have and are setting a wonderful example for her. She doesn't know it yet, but she does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she sees the activeness that you hold, and same with Holly. And she feels that. She senses it. She did when she was still in the womb. She knew that, you know, and so you will be far from that guy that you are scared of being. But I appreciate the fact that you are nervous about that. And I appreciate the fact that you are heightened even more so to these things that are going on in the country, because it's important to be that way. Because if you're not, you turn into those apathetic parents, which has then caused the state of where we're at. You know, so it all connects, you know, whether you go a conspiracy route or not, or whether you just take these situations for what they are, which you can go either way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both ways have truths, both ways have falsehoods, you know, but you will be far from that because, number one, you hold your convictions very tightly, you know, and whether that's for yourself or for the people around you. You also have fantastic people around you, whether that's your friends or your family, and certainly including us two over here in that, who won't let you become that person, just like you wouldn't let us become that person.
Yep.
You know? And so you're already doing it. It's been 2 weeks and you're doing it, you know? And so you keep going down that path and you will never, ever have anything to worry about in that sense, for yourself or for her or for Holly.
Yep.
You know? And that's all of these negative situations and I'll leave it at that, but can deter you really fast and can deter you in a way of, well, what can I do? You know, there is nothing I can do. I'm saying that's how you could feel. But as long as you hold yourself to that standard, it won't happen, you know? And so continuing to be that way for yourself will then show the people around you how you're supposed to be. And that's what our fathers have done for us as well. So it's a big trickle-down effect, you know, but that is how the real change will happen. And that is how, when our generation then becomes the power holders, that is how things will change. And that is how we reverse this horrible, horrible course and this horrible path that we have gone down for however many years. We don't even really know, you know. Could be 100 years, it could be 50 years, it could be the last 7 years. You know, we don't really know. For us, it feels like the last 7 years because that's when we've been most aware of these types of things, you know, the good and the bad. But my concluding thought there is you're going to be an incredible dad. You already are an incredible dad. It's amazing to see, you know. Haven is amazing. That was quite a surreal feeling holding her. And Mitch, I'm sure you would thoroughly agree with that. And so you keep doing what you're doing. You keep bettering yourself on that path, and you won't have anything to worry about, and I can promise you that.
Well, I could also say to other dads, it's actually a good thing to be nervous of that.
Well, yeah, if you didn't care, that'd be a problem.
Exactly. It's a good thing to be nervous of that person you could become that's apathetic and soft and weak as a father. You know what I mean? That's actually a good thing to be nervous of that because it'll help you avoid it.
Yeah.
Is the idea. I mean, out of the 12 days she's been here, I've worked out 11 of them. You know what I mean? Like it just because she was born didn't stop me from exercising.
Right. Or training clients.
Or training clients.
Working on our app.
Exactly.
Like,
and so it didn't stop me from any of that. And that again is like, it's a checkpoint for yourself. Like having a child should be an inflection point to where it's like, you either get into gear or you stay the same. That's essentially what it should be. You should be like, oh, I need to start kicking ass. Or I'm going to be the exact same, and that means just get worse for the rest of my life as a father. And then I'm going to leave a horrible impression on my children because of that. Because they saw dad just be lazy all the time. It is what it is.
Yeah.
If dad's lazy all the time, why can't I be too?
Right.
I mean, if dad doesn't care about his relationship with mom, why would I be worried about my relationship with my future husband or my future wife if we get blessed with a son? Same thing. So, and I think another big encouragement to end on there for dads is also there's still a section of the population, about 45 to 50% in the US, that thinks you saying mean things and them calling you out for it is acceptable. You laugh at those people now because if you have children, their future is 20 times more important. If they call you a racist for saying that immigrants need to assimilate and we actually need to drop immigration entirely, you laugh at them because that makes your child's life better. So my point is like, when it comes to people that are the two groups, dads, that you should look at, apathetic, weak parents, and then people that are childless and hold viewpoints that are like very communist and leftist, so to speak. Those two groups of people, you should ignore everything they say for it because it's going to make your child's life worse.
Correct.
Objectively. Their opinions don't matter anymore, especially after they just murdered a guy in public forum. Like that's, you cannot sit there and dwell on if you're going to get canceled tomorrow and have a concern about that.
Yeah.
That just cannot be something you're worried about. It's either your child has a better life than you or they don't because you sat there and just didn't say a word. And that's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mitch, you got anything? No? All right, everybody. That is episode 173. Mr. Gabel is a father. Hell yeah.
Appreciate you boys doing this. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. As always, please share the show. You know the ways to do it. Please submit your Q&A questions. You also know how to do that. And if you don't, if this is your first time listening, go back to our last episode or any number of our past episodes, and we'll give you all the ways there. Guys, until next time, peace and love.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.